Okay, so real quick, we're gonna dig into this case that's running warm. So first off, when you're here, you're gonna check your airflow. Just see how it's flowing out. If the air feels super cold or it feels weak, you might have some airflow issues. So this here doesn't feel the best. It feels maybe a little weak, but I can't tell if that's because the refrigerant is low or, you know, it's not refrigerating properly or something, or if it's just because the airflow. So I'm gonna take out these deck pans, take a look. Now another thing you can look at is this case thermometer real quick. This is only a reference. Only trust your Defrost controller. Do not just rely on these. These things are so often wrong, but it's not a bad quick reference. Now if you look at this right there, that fan's going, right? And there's typically 2 EVAPs on these types of things for every section. So we're looking at the fan over there. Again, now you can see that this fan's running too. So both EVAP fans are running. So we're still on airflow. And I just wanted to take a quick look up here. So oftentimes mold grows on the back part of these honeycombs. Produce cases are a breeding ground for that, so that's something I almost always check on them because I found so much of it, and it will really affect your airflow. So at this point, I think we can conclude it's not the airflow that's the problem, it's the actual refrigeration. So on to the next thing. All right, so now we're up here, we're looking at our cases. There's no alarm, so not really a big deal. But if we look at our cases here, right, we're gonna click on this one right here, this B3. We're going to go over to our sensors, right? Now you want to look at, you want to verify and say, are my sensors reading right now? Look at this thing. -9, -5, 2. 2 is not bad. So now we're going to say, okay, as far as I'm concerned, none of those temperature probes are trustworthy. Now we got to calibrate it to make sure that it's working right. So you're going to walk right over to your deli section of your store. You're going to grab your cup right here. Then you're going to look for your ice, whatever that is. So at this ice machine here, see, ice machine, come down here. So big old cup of ice. Fill it up with some water. Now we're gonna go test that probe. You'll look it up here. You don't see no probe nowhere. Okay. Now there's a lot of times there's these little circular things back there. That's what the probe would be. But in this case, it seems like more than likely someone just jammed it up there to make it read temp. So we're gonna have to pull out these honeycombs to find it. So there it is. It actually looks like maybe this is how it's supposed to be for the case. Typically speaking though, it's supposed to be on the front side of this because that's where you're actually getting it. So I would typically, technicians will hide it up there to kind of just get out of the call. Don't do that, that's bad. Don't do that. Keep it in front. Even this, I would recommend moving it out front. Gives you a better understanding of what's going on with the product. So now that temperature probe is in that cup of ice water up there. Typically it sits a little better than that, but here's what it is. Now we're gonna look at what temperature it is. Okay, so real quick, you can see that working on case B3, C3, now 28 degrees in a cup of ice water. That's not right. It should be about 33. So we're gonna go to sensor adjustment. That's -5. So if we just go down to edit and we're gonna take that out. We're gonna edit it. Edit. Well, we should hit 0. Edit 0. Enter. Now let's see what that's gonna bring us to. 33. That's perfect. About 33. Maybe we could put in like a point, -0.8, -8, edit, enter. Like 33 is fine for a cup of ice water. So just a quick little tidbit. So over here is where the refrigerant map is. So if we look over there, it's B3C right there. You know, there's refrigerant map over there, but that one's not accurate. So sometimes you got these wonderful little pile of maps over there you got to go through. So just some advice. All right, now that's up there. So now we're gonna go up there. I'm able to see what it's reading, and we're gonna check some other things. All right, now that we're back up here, it says it's like 43 degrees, so that's obviously not good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a quick troubleshooting of the controller. We're just gonna go to our rack B. That's our rack it's on. We're gonna look at our suction groups. The target, it's basically at the target. We're gonna go to our condenser. Let's see, target. It's a little warm. The 205, that's fine. It's a little high, not too bad. And then we're gonna check to see is everything temping warm. So 33, 33, 31, 32, 33. So all those cases don't seem to be temping warm. So, alright, now we're going to go over, we're going to check our rack real quick. So always check. So I'm doing this in a specific order on purpose. This is, in my opinion, how you should check. So you're going to check your liquid level right now. If your liquid level isn't right, you're going to get all kinds of wacky signs. So that sight glass is clear. Now this next part is super important. Check your receiver. Okay. Sometimes even if you got a clear sight glass, but you have like a 0 receiver, well, sometimes it can be some black. So for default, clear sight glass, so we know that the receiver's full. So next up, we're gonna check some pressures. We're gonna check pressures across the filter dryer. Okay, so we're gonna take the pressure drop across this puppy. But if you look down here, that service valve is so rusty I can't open it. So what are we gonna do? Well, we can still do it. We just gotta do it a little bit differently. Okay, so it's not gonna be quite as accurate, but it won't be too bad. So you can see all those pipes lead out to your condenser. You find your condensed liquid right here. You see, this is your discharge. It's hot. This is your condenser, right? So this is your condensed down liquid. This liquid will go into the receiver, right? Go in, bubble come out, come up here, go through the filter dryer and behind. So we're hooked up there, and then now we need to be hooked up on the other side of the filter dryer on the rack. So we're hooked up right up there, you see? And I can do that because there's no suction stop or solenoid, liquid solenoid or anything like that. So I know that that's going to be the pressure. If you look at, it might be separated by like 1 psi, not enough to cause any issue. So yeah, that suction in that liquid dryer is good to go. So now we're gonna go back to the case and start looking at stuff down there. So just real quick, I'm just checking the suction pressure. It does match what's in the Defrost controller, so I know that's reading accurately. Now you could check, that's B3 over there. You could check your liquid and your suction on that, but we're gonna check it at the case, so I don't think it's really a point doing it here. It's more accurate at the case anyway. But usually I will check too, at both places, but this rack is just kind of so old and cumbersome to work with. I'm just gonna check it in the case. So I just wanted to explain while I'm walking. 99% of all cases, like, well, maybe not 99, but like a good portion of them are rack issues. If your rack is not running right, you cannot properly troubleshoot your case. Everything's going to read wrong. You'll read that your filter dryer is bad at your case when they're not. If you have low liquid or low feeding issues from the rack, you'll read that your TXVs are screwed up when they're not. It's just low liquid or something. So you have to make sure your rack is good to go, and then you can move on to the case. You have to make sure. If your rack is not good, you cannot properly troubleshoot your case. So just, if your rack is good, then you can troubleshoot your case. If it's not, you have to make sure your rack is good, and most of the time if you fix your rack, you'll clear up your problem. Okay, so now we're hooked up in the case. You see I moved all the deck pans over the shopping cart, okay? So I'm hooked up to the liquid side and suction side right there, okay? So we're gonna go up here and we're gonna look. You see, the liquid's great, 213, whatever, good to go. Suction side, we're getting a, at 507, we're getting a 42 degree evap. Is that right? Well, based on the industry standards that I know, it should be about 23. But let's double check with the case spec for this Hussmann ID5 SL8 case. Okay, so we have this Hussmann case specs up here, and we're going to scroll down a little bit, and you can see dairy, deli, beverage, produce. It says average evap temperature 28 degrees. Now I might still put it down to 23 just because that's kind of what my company does, kind of an industry thing. But it has to be at least 28 degrees for it to work. So this is at 40 degrees, according to that pressure, 43. So we know that suction side, there's our problem, and that's why all of these cases are temping warm. So why might that be? Well, if we're not at the rack, look down at your cases, see if you find anything. You can see there's a suction stop right here. So we're going to take a look at that puppy, see if it's working. First I'm going to use my little dangle tool. Nothing. So Could be that it's not calling for it, but we'll see. So here it is, defrosting. So we're gonna have to take it out of defrost. So we're gonna go to the manual defrost. We're gonna go manual off, I already did that. And we're gonna go to manual relays, produce, manual, auto off. We'll turn that auto on. So now that's manual on. Now you always check, okay? When you get to something like that that's controlled by the controller, always check that your controller's calling for it. Because I could have wrote up a valve just now that wasn't bad, but we're gonna keep moving. You can now see that that puppy is calling, good to go. If we come over here, we can see that our gauges are reading a 22-degree evap, which is good to go. Alright, so now we check down the chain. So we're going to check the hand valve. Is the hand valve closed? Nope, it's not closed. I've actually found it. Now we're going to check that filter dryer. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the temperature on one side, temperature on the other side. Now if you could do pressures on one side, pressure on the other, that'd be better, but we don't have to do pressure tests. So we have to make do with what we have. Temperature on one side, temperature on the other. And I'm waiting for those things to settle right now, so I'll let you know. So if we look at those probes up there, they're both good. They're both within a 0.1 of a degree. So I don't believe that there's a pressure drop across the filter dryer. Now, as you saw earlier from the Defrost controller, right? You saw that all of these cases, so this one and like 3 or 4 that way, are all kind of tempered high, right? So the likelihood that it's the TXV is like 0. Like 99% of the time, it is not the case. So if we look at the pressure, like really fine, I can see that it goes up, even though this thing is manually turned on, right? I'm like watching it, and I can see that that pressure goes up. Sometimes it'll go up as high as 60, okay? Now sometimes these guys can actually get to the right pressure, but it's not feeding correctly, okay? So we're gonna test this guy. We're gonna put this guy through the test that we can do, okay? And we're gonna kind of see. So now, I've eliminated most things in the system, but now we're gonna back and revisit this. I probably should have tested this maybe more thoroughly initially, but we're here where we are. So first we're gonna do the magnet test. See, this is actually kind of interesting to me, is that now the pressure is going up with the magnet on it. Now, watch, if I do something like that, the pressure still goes up. If I take it off, it'll go up a little quicker typically, but it's not really doing anything right now. So that's really weird, right? I'm not gonna put it back on again, right? Gonna go down like a little bit, right? But you want to kind of hear like a whooshing of refrigerant going through it. Oh, and don't forget to put your 6-in-1 inside your coil so the coil doesn't fry itself, okay? But you should hear like a whooshing of refrigerant. Well, now we're going to put on the coil. We're going to see what happens, because sometimes, maybe the magnet isn't strong enough. Let's just put on the coil. Okay. See, again, not a lot, kind of. Going down a little bit, but we're not hearing that whoosh. So now I'm going to manually stem. So on the bottom of these solenoids, they have a manual stem. So now I'm going to manually stem this open, okay? And just listen. You will hear it, okay? Now they make a tool for this. I don't have the tool. Well, I do, but I don't know what happened to it. You ready? We're just going to hear it starting to whistle a little bit. Still going with me? want to get it on video, the whooshing sound. Now you can hear the refrigerant kind of whizzing by when I threaded that thing all the way in. Okay? And you can see that even the superheat on those TXVs are now lowering. That's kind of another way you can even look at it, is that now the TXVs are actually being fed properly, and now they're actually, feeding. So now that superheat's going down. You can see the pressure's going down too. It was almost at 60. Now it's going down to 56. So yeah, I would say that we found our culprit, which is this suction stop valve. And we're going to take a picture of this tag, take the line size and bring it to the local United, and make sure you take a picture of that too, front, top, the line size, and yeah, we'll bring it to our local United and they'll fit us up a valve and we're going to have to put it in.